Losing a spouse is one of the most painful experiences a person can go through. It's not just the emotional weight of grief, it's the overwhelming number of decisions that suddenly fall on your shoulders. In times like this, it's easy to make choices out of pain, loneliness, or pressure from others. But some decisions can lead to unnecessary regrets, financial difficulties, or even emotional setbacks that make healing even harder. The truth is, while grieving is personal, there are certain things you should always think twice about before saying yes to. In this video, we'll discuss 5 things you should say no to after losing a spouse, mistakes that many people unknowingly make, only to realize later that they weren't truly ready. These are the pitfalls that can make an already difficult time even more complicated. And by knowing them in advance, you can protect your emotional, financial, and physical well-being. Stay with me until the end, because these insights aren't just about avoiding mistakes. They're about making sure you navigate this chapter of your life with clarity, dignity, and the support you deserve. Now let's get started. Number 1, making big financial decisions too soon. One of the most common mistakes people make after losing a spouse is rushing into major financial decisions. It's understandable suddenly you're faced with bank accounts, insurance policies, investments, and possibly even the question of whether to keep or sell your home. In the midst of grief, it can feel like taking immediate action will provide stability or a sense of control. But the reality is, grief clouds, judgment, and making irreversible financial choices too soon can lead to regrets down the road. When emotions are running high, decisions that seem logical in the moment might not be the best for the long term. Many widows and widowers feel pressured by well-meaning friends, financial advisors, or even their own sense of urgency to sell their house, move to a new location, or make large investments. But the months after losing a spouse are a time of emotional adjustment, not financial risk-taking. The smartest move you can make is to pause. Give yourself time to process your loss before making choices that could affect the rest of your life. Take the case of 74-year-old Margaret. After losing her husband, she was told by multiple people that she should downsize her home immediately. The idea made sense. Less space to maintain, lower expenses, and a fresh start. So within a few months, she sold the house they had lived in for 40 years and moved into a smaller apartment in a different town. But once the shock of loss settled, she realized she had made a decision out of panic. She missed her familiar surroundings, her neighbors, and the sense of comfort her home provided. In hindsight, she wished she had waited longer before making such a big move. Financial decisions don't just involve real estate. Many newly widowed individuals are targeted by financial predators, people who see vulnerability as an opportunity. Whether it's unsolicited investment opportunities, high-pressure sales tactics, or even well-intentioned but uninformed advice from friends, it's crucial to be cautious. If someone is urging you to sign papers, make a major withdrawal, or invest in something quickly, take a step back. The best financial decisions are rarely the ones made in a rush. Another common mistake is giving away money or assets too quickly. Grief often brings a strong desire to help others, children, grandchildren, charities, or close friends. While generosity is a wonderful thing, making large financial gifts or dividing assets prematurely can leave you in a vulnerable position later on. What seems manageable in the moment might not be sustainable in the years ahead. Before making any major financial moves, it's best to consult with a trusted professional who understands your long-term needs and can help you plan wisely. The first year after losing a spouse should be about stabilization, not drastic financial changes. Experts often recommend the 1-year rule, which suggests waiting at least a year before making any irreversible financial decisions. This allows time for the initial emotional shock to pass and for you to think clearly about what's truly best for your future. Losing a spouse is already one of life's most difficult transitions. The last thing you need is added stress from financial missteps that could have been avoided. Take your time, seek trusted guidance, and remember there's no rush. The best decisions are made with clarity, not grief. Number 2, isolating yourself from friends and family. After losing a spouse, it's natural to want time alone. Grief is deeply personal, and sometimes solitude feels like the only way to process the pain. But while taking moments to yourself is important, completely shutting out friends and family can lead to an even deeper sense of loneliness, one that makes healing harder. Many people fall into the habit of withdrawing, telling themselves they just need more time. But the truth is, isolation can quickly turn into a pattern that's difficult to break. Human connection plays a crucial role in emotional well-being, especially during times of loss. When people distance themselves for too long, They often experience increased feelings of sadness, anxiety, and even physical health decline. Studies have shown that prolonged social isolation can weaken the immune system, increase blood pressure, and even shorten lifespan. In contrast, staying connected, even in small ways, can help ease the emotional burden and provide a much-needed sense of support. Take the case of 78-year-old Walter. When his wife of 52 years passed away, he stopped answering phone calls, skipped family gatherings, and rarely left the house. He told himself he just wasn't in the mood to talk, that people wouldn't understand his grief, and that being alone was easier. Months passed, and instead of feeling better, he felt worse. His days blurred together, his energy dropped, and even his appetite changed. It wasn't until a neighbor insisted he come over for coffee that something shifted. That one conversation turned into a weekly habit, then a small routine of meeting up with friends. The more he engaged, the lighter he felt, not because the pain disappeared, but because he realized he wasn't alone in carrying it. The key isn't to force yourself into big social situations before you're ready. It's about taking small steps to stay connected. Whether it's answering a phone call, going for a short walk with a friend, or even joining a support group, these little actions can help keep you from slipping into deep loneliness. If you don't feel like talking, that's okay. Simply being around people, even if it's just listening to a conversation, can help. Remind you that life continues, and that support is available when you need it. Another mistake many people make is pushing away those who care the most. Sometimes grief brings irritability, exhaustion, or a sense that others just don't understand what you're going through. But shutting people out completely can create unnecessary distance between you and those who genuinely want to help. Your loved ones may not have the perfect words, but their presence alone can make a difference. Letting them in bit by bit can provide comfort, even when words aren't enough. It's also important to seek support from those who understand your experience. Connecting with others who have been through similar loss, whether through a grief support group, a community gathering, or even an online forum, can be incredibly healing. Speaking with people who truly understand what you're going through can validate your feelings and provide reassurance that you're not alone. Grief doesn't follow a schedule, and there's no right way to heal. But staying completely isolated only makes the journey harder. Finding small ways to reconnect with others at your own pace can provide strength, support, and even moments of unexpected joy. Remember, you don't have to carry the weight of loss alone. There are people who care, who want to be there for you, and who can help you move forward one step at a time. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 3, ignoring your own health and well-being. When a spouse passes away, many people find themselves so consumed by grief that they stop paying attention to their own health. It's easy to put off doctor's appointments, skip meals, or let daily routines slip when you're dealing with loss. Some people even feel guilty about taking care of themselves, as if prioritizing their health somehow diminishes the depth of their love or grief. But the reality is, neglecting your well-being doesn't bring you closer to the one you lost. It only makes your journey forward harder. Grief affects the body in ways many people don't realize. Studies show that losing a spouse increases the risk of heart problems, weakened immune function, and even cognitive decline. The stress of grief can lead to high blood pressure, disrupted sleep, and changes in appetite. Some people lose interest in eating, while others turn to unhealthy comfort foods. Over time, these changes can take a serious toll on both physical and mental health. The key is not to expect yourself to feel normal overnight, but to make small choices that help your body stay strong as you navigate this difficult time. Take the case of 81-year-old James. After his wife passed, he stopped cooking meals for himself. He told himself he just wasn't hungry, and when he did eat, it was usually something quick and processed. Within a few months, he started feeling weaker, had trouble sleeping, and felt constantly fatigued. His daughter noticed the change and encouraged him to start eating regular meals again, even if he didn't have an appetite. Once he made small adjustments, like preparing simple, nutritious foods and drinking more water, he found that his energy levels improved, his mood stabilized, and he was better equipped to handle the emotions that came with grief. Self-care isn't just about food, it includes movement, sleep, and emotional health. Many people who lose a spouse stop exercising, not because they don't want to stay active, but because they no longer have someone to do it with. But staying physically active, even if it's just a short daily walk, has been shown to reduce stress, boost mood, and even improve longevity. In some cases, joining a local walking group or exercise class can provide both physical benefits and much-needed social connection. Another common mistake is neglecting medical checkups. Many widows and widowers skip routine doctor visits or delay seeking medical care because they feel too overwhelmed. But this is the time when taking care of your health is more important than ever. If you haven't been to the doctor in a while, make an appointment. Getting regular checkups, managing existing health conditions, and staying on top of medications can make a significant difference in how you feel, physically and emotionally. Mental health is just as important as physical health. Grief can lead to depression, anxiety, and even feelings of hopelessness, especially when combined with isolation. If you're struggling, don't hesitate to reach out for help. Speaking with a counselor, joining a grief support group, or even just opening up to a trusted friend can provide relief and reassurance. You don't have to go through this alone, and seeking support is not a sign of weakness. It's a step toward healing. Your spouse would have wanted you to take care of yourself. Honoring their memory doesn't mean sacrificing your well-being. It means continuing to live in a way that allows you to find moments of peace and strength. It's okay to grieve, to take your time, and to feel the weight of loss. But in the midst of it all, remember that your health still matters. You are still here, and your well-being is worth protecting. Number 4, rushing into a new relationship. Losing a spouse leaves an emotional void that can feel impossible to fill. For many, the loneliness that follows is one of the hardest parts of grief. And the idea of finding companionship again may seem like the only way to cope. While there is nothing wrong with wanting connection, one of the most common mistakes widows and widowers make is rushing into a new relationship before they have fully processed their grief. The emotions of loss can create a deep need for comfort, but making major romantic decisions too soon can lead to more heartache, confusion, and regrets. Grief doesn't follow a timeline, and everyone heals at their own pace. Some people take years before even considering dating again, while others feel ready sooner. But when emotions are raw, the risk of entering a relationship for the wrong reasons is high. Many people unknowingly look for a partner not because they are truly ready, but because they are seeking to replace what was lost, avoid loneliness, or escape the pain. These relationships often begin with strong emotions, but lack the stability needed for long-term success. Take the case of 72-year-old Barbara. Just months after losing her husband of nearly 50 years, she met someone through a friend and quickly entered a relationship. At first, it felt like the companionship she desperately needed, someone to talk to share meals with, to distract her from the overwhelming loneliness. But as time went on, she started to realize that she wasn't truly ready. The relationship moved faster than she expected, and soon she felt trapped in something that didn't feel right. Eventually, she had to step back and take time for herself. But in hindsight, she wished she had given herself more time before making such a big decision. A new relationship should be about genuine connection, not just emotional relief. When someone has spent decades with a spouse, the habits, routines, and shared memories are deeply ingrained. Jumping into a relationship before processing that loss can lead to unfair comparisons, unrealistic expectations, and feelings of guilt. Some widows and widowers even find themselves struggling with conflicting emotions, wanting to move forward, but feeling as if they are betraying the person they lost. These are natural feelings, but they need to be acknowledged and worked through before entering into something new. Another concern is being vulnerable to those with bad intentions. Unfortunately, there are people who take advantage of those who are grieving, offering emotional support only to manipulate or exploit them financially. Scammers and even well-meaning but opportunistic individuals often seek out widowed seniors, knowing they may be emotionally fragile and in need of companionship. This is why it's essential to trust your instincts and take your time. If someone is pressuring you to commit quickly, make financial decisions, or distance yourself from friends and family, those are red flags that shouldn't be ignored. This doesn't mean avoiding love or companionship forever. Many widows and widowers do find meaningful relationships later in life, but the healthiest and most fulfilling ones happen when both individuals are truly ready, when the decision is made from a place of healing, not desperation. Time and reflection are key. Taking the time to process grief, rediscover personal identity, and find peace in being alone before seeking a new partner makes a world of difference. If you do choose to date again, Go at your own pace. Take time to understand what you truly want in a relationship and make sure you're entering it for the right reasons. Talk with trusted friends or family members about your feelings, and don't feel pressured by anyone's opinions, whether they think it's too soon or that you shouldn't be alone. The decision is yours and yours alone. At the end of the day, grief and healing are deeply personal journeys. There is no rush, no deadline, and no rulebook. The most important thing is to take care of yourself first, so that if and when the time comes, any new relationship you enter is built on a foundation of strength, peace, and true companionship. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 5, holding on to every possession without letting go. One of the hardest things to do after losing a spouse is deciding what to do with their belongings. Every item holds memories, and the thought of letting go can feel like losing them all over again. Many widows and widowers struggle with this, keeping every piece of clothing, every personal belonging, and every small item exactly as it was, afraid that moving or changing anything means erasing the life they shared. But while it's understandable to hold on, keeping everything indefinitely can sometimes make grief even heavier, preventing emotional healing and the ability to move forward. Holding on to some sentimental items is completely natural. There's no rule that says you have to get rid of everything. But keeping an entire home untouched for years, leaving their closet exactly as it was, or avoiding making any changes can turn a house into a shrine of grief rather than a place of comfort. Over time, instead of bringing peace, it can serve as a daily reminder of what has been lost, making it harder to adjust to a new chapter of life. Take the case of 76-year-old Harold. After his wife of 55 years passed, he left everything exactly as she had. Her shoes stayed by the door, her clothes remained in the closet, and her favorite chair was left untouched. At first, it felt like a way to keep her close, but as the months passed, he realized that walking past her untouched belongings every day was keeping him stuck in the same place emotionally. He wasn't ready to get rid of everything, but when he slowly started donating some items, keeping only a few meaningful ones, he felt a sense of relief. It wasn't about forgetting, it was about making room for healing. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or loving less. It means allowing yourself space to breathe. Instead of forcing yourself to make sudden changes, start small. Choose a few meaningful keepsakes, a piece of jewelry, a handwritten note, a favorite photo, and create a special space for them. Then when you feel ready, begin sorting through other belongings, deciding what truly holds meaning and what is simply taking up space. Another mistake people make is feeling pressured by others to get rid of things before they're ready. Friends or family members may mean well, suggesting that you should clear things out or move on, but this decision should always be made on your own timeline. If you're not ready, don't rush it. At the same time, be mindful that holding on to everything out of guilt or fear may be keeping you in a place of sadness longer than necessary. There is also an emotional balance in repurposing rather than just removing. Some people find comfort in turning an old shirt into a quilt, transforming a collection of letters into a memory book, or passing down sentimental items to loved ones who will cherish them. This way, their presence remains, but in a way that brings warmth instead of just sorrow. Ultimately, grief is not about things. It's about love, memories, and the bond you shared. No object can replace a person, but clinging to everything they owned won't bring them back either. Letting go in small and thoughtful ways is not an act of forgetting. It's a step toward honoring their memory while also making space for your own healing. Moving forward doesn't mean moving away from them. It simply means carrying them with you in a way that allows both love and life to coexist. Final thoughts. Losing a spouse is one of life's most profound and painful experiences. It changes everything, the way you live, the way you think, and even the way you see the future. But in the midst of grief, it's important to remember that every decision you make during this time has the power to either help or hinder your healing. That's why saying no to these 5 things, rushing financial decisions, isolating yourself, neglecting your health, jumping into a new relationship too soon, and holding on to everything without allowing for change can make a significant difference in your ability to move forward with strength and clarity. Grief doesn't come with a timeline, and there is no right or wrong way to process it. But one thing is certain, Avoiding these common pitfalls can help you navigate this chapter of your life in a way that protects both your heart and your future. Healing doesn't mean forgetting, and moving forward doesn't mean leaving your spouse behind. It means honoring their memory in a way that allows you to continue living with purpose, peace, and even joy in the moments ahead. What stood out to you the most? Which of these insights do you feel is the most important for your own journey? We'd love to hear from you, so leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Most people believe that living to 100 is all about exercising every day, pushing the body to its limits and following strict fitness routines. But what if that's not the key at all? What if the real secret to longevity had little to do with intense workouts and everything to do with something far simpler? Research on centenarians, people who live to 100 or beyond, reveals that while movement is important, it's not about how much you exercise, but how you live your daily life. In this video, we're uncovering 5 powerful lifestyle habits that have been linked to extreme longevity, all backed by studies of the world's longest living populations. These aren't complicated fitness regimens or strict diets, but natural habits that support health in a sustainable, effortless way. If you're hoping to increase your chances of living a long, fulfilling life, this information is something you can't afford to miss. Stay tuned until the end, because some of these habits might surprise you. They don't require you to become a marathon runner or spend hours at the gym, but they do require a shift in how you approach your health, your relationships, and your mindset. Now let's get started. Number 1, prioritizing strong social connections. One of the most overlooked, yet powerful factors in longevity is the strength of your social connections. While many believe that diet or exercise is the primary key to living longer, research consistently shows that people with close, meaningful relationships tend to outlive those who are isolated. It's not just about having acquaintances or casual friendships. It's about maintaining deep, emotionally supportive bonds with family, friends, and the community. The truth is, human connection isn't just good for the heart emotionally, it's literally good for the heart physically. When people feel lonely or disconnected, their bodies enter a state of chronic stress. This stress leads to an increase in cortisol, the hormone responsible for the fight or flight response. Over time, elevated cortisol levels contribute to inflammation, high blood pressure, and even a weakened immune system. In contrast, people who feel a strong sense of belonging and purpose tend to have lower stress levels, better cardiovascular health, and even stronger immune responses. Scientists studying the world's longest living communities, often referred to as blue zones, have found that nearly all centenarians share one common trait. They are deeply embedded in strong social networks. Consider the story of 84-year-old George. He was widowed in his late 70s and found himself retreating into isolation. At first, he assumed this was just part of getting older, spending more time alone, avoiding large gatherings, and keeping conversations short. But over time, he started feeling more fatigued, less interested in his usual hobbies, and even developed high blood pressure. A neighbor invited him to join a local group of retired veterans who met weekly, and although George was hesitant at first, he eventually agreed to go. Within months, his energy improved, his stress levels dropped, and his doctor noticed an improvement in his overall health. This isn't just anecdotal. Studies show that people with strong social ties have a 50% higher chance of living longer, compared to those who are socially isolated. Loneliness has been linked to the same level of risk as smoking or obesity, and yet it's rarely discussed as a major health factor. In many traditional cultures where people regularly live past 100, it's common to see multi-generational households, tight-knit communities, and daily social interactions that keep people mentally and emotionally engaged. These connections aren't just about fun, they serve as a buffer against the challenges of aging. Even if you don't have a large social circle, small but meaningful interactions can make a difference. Maintaining a few deep, supportive friendships is more valuable than having dozens of shallow acquaintances. Whether it's reconnecting with old friends, joining a local club, or even making a habit of chatting with neighbors, the goal is to create a routine where social interaction is a natural part of daily life. The more connected you feel to others, the healthier and longer your life is likely to be. If you've ever felt that your relationships don't impact your health, think again. Prioritizing strong social bonds is one of the most powerful and natural ways to extend your lifespan. Whether through family, friends, or community, finding ways to stay engaged with others can make all the difference in not only how long you live, but how well you live. Number 2, eating in moderation and following a natural diet. One of the most common traits among people who live to 100 isn't extreme dieting or counting every calorie. It's eating in moderation and choosing natural whole foods. Many assume that strict meal plans or eliminating certain food groups are the key to longevity, but the truth is far simpler. Centenarians across the world don't necessarily follow a rigid diet, but they do eat mindfully, consume fresh, unprocessed foods, and often stop eating before they feel completely full. This approach isn't about restriction, it's about balance. One of the most fascinating patterns seen in long-lived populations is something called the 80% rule, a habit practiced in regions like Okinawa, Japan, where people stop eating when they feel about 80% full. This small change allows the digestive system to function efficiently, without overloading the body with excess calories. Overeating forces the body to work harder, leading to inflammation and an increased risk of diseases like diabetes and heart disease. In contrast, eating until you're just satisfied, not stuffed, reduces strain on the system, promotes better metabolism, and contributes to a longer, healthier life. Take the case of 82-year-old Ruth. She had spent most of her life eating 3 large meals a day, often finishing everything on her plate out of habit. But after moving in with her daughter, who had studied nutrition and longevity, Ruth began making small changes. She started eating more vegetables, cutting back on processed foods and serving herself slightly smaller portions. Within months, she felt lighter, had more energy, and even noticed improvements in her digestion. It wasn't a drastic change, just a shift in mindset and habits. Beyond portion control, the quality of food also plays a major role in longevity. Most people who live past 100 don't rely on heavily processed foods or artificial ingredients. Instead, their diets are filled with fresh vegetables, fruits, whole grains, nuts, and healthy fats. Many of them also consume plant-based proteins with small amounts of fish or lean meats. It's not about eliminating certain foods entirely, but about choosing natural, nutrient-dense options as the foundation of every meal. Another key factor is meal timing. Many centenarians eat their largest meals earlier in the day, allowing the body to properly digest and rest at night. Late-night eating has been linked to metabolic issues, weight gain, and poor sleep, all of which can accelerate aging. In contrast, those who eat their final meal earlier in the evening and allow their bodies time to fast overnight tend to have better digestion, more stable energy levels, and healthier aging overall. Perhaps the most overlooked aspect of eating for longevity is the social and emotional connection to food. Many long-lived cultures emphasize eating together, sharing meals with loved ones, and treating food as something to be enjoyed rather than rushed. This practice not only strengthens relationships, but also helps regulate portion sizes and encourages slower, more mindful eating, both of which contribute to better digestion and overall well-being. If you're looking to extend your life, the goal isn't to adopt a strict diet or deprive yourself of the foods you love. Instead, focus on moderation, choosing whole foods over processed ones, and paying attention to how much and when you eat. Small, sustainable changes can have a profound impact on your long-term health without ever making you feel restricted. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 3, managing stress and practicing mindful living. One of the most underestimated factors in longevity isn't diet or exercise. It's how well you manage stress. While some level of stress is inevitable, chronic stress is one of the biggest contributors to premature aging, heart disease, and weakened immune function. People who live to 100 aren't immune to stress, but they have developed habits that allow them to navigate life's challenges without letting stress take a lasting toll on their bodies. Whether through relaxation techniques, daily routines, or simply adopting a calmer mindset, learning how to manage stress effectively is one of the most powerful things you can do for your health. When stress becomes chronic, it triggers an ongoing fight or flight response in the body. This leads to elevated cortisol levels, increased inflammation, and a higher risk of developing conditions like hypertension, digestive disorders, and even memory loss. Many people who reach 100 have one thing in common. They don't let stress control them. Instead of reacting with panic or frustration, they embrace a slower, more mindful approach to life. This doesn't mean they don't face hardships. It means they've learned to adapt, accept, and move forward without allowing stress to consume them. Consider the case of 80-year-old Leonard. He had spent most of his working life as a high-stress executive, constantly dealing with deadlines, long hours, and high-pressure situations. After retirement, he found himself feeling just as tense, worrying about finances, family, and health. It wasn't until he started practicing mindfulness, taking morning walks, breathing deeply, and simply focusing on the present that he noticed a change. His sleep improved, his blood pressure stabilized, and for the first time in years, he felt a sense of peace that had been missing for decades. In the world's longest living cultures, stress management isn't an afterthought. It's built into daily life. Many centenarians practice relaxation techniques like deep breathing, meditation, or prayer. Others engage in simple, calming activities such as gardening, knitting, or even enjoying an afternoon tea with friends. These small rituals may seem insignificant, but they play a crucial role in keeping stress levels low and preserving overall health. One of the most effective ways to reduce stress is to create a daily routine that allows for moments of stillness. Whether it's setting aside time in the morning to reflect, winding down in the evening with a good book, or simply learning to let go of unnecessary worries, finding a way to reset the mind can have profound effects on longevity. In fact, research has shown that people who engage in daily relaxation practices tend to have lower rates of inflammation, stronger immune function, and even a reduced risk of dementia. Another critical factor is having a positive outlook on life. Many centenarians share a common trait. They don't dwell on negativity. Instead of focusing on what they've lost or what could go wrong, they embrace gratitude and find joy in small things. This shift in mindset isn't just good for mental health. It directly affects the body by reducing stress hormones, improving heart health, and even boosting overall resilience. If stress has been a constant presence in your life, the good news is that it's never too late to make a change. Learning how to manage stress effectively doesn't require major life adjustments. It simply means making small, intentional choices every day that allow your body and mind to rest. Whether through mindfulness, relaxation, or shifting your perspective, reducing stress may be one of the most important steps you can take toward a longer, healthier life. Number 4, staying mentally active and continuously learning. One of the strongest predictors of longevity isn't just how well you take care of your body, it's how well you take care of your mind. People who live to 100 tend to stay mentally engaged, continuously learning, and challenging their brains in ways that keep them sharp. It's not about formal education or solving complex equations. It's about maintaining curiosity, exploring new interests, and keeping the brain active well into old age. Just as muscles weaken when they're not used, the brain can also decline if it's not regularly stimulated. Cognitive decline is one of the biggest concerns for aging individuals. And while some memory loss is natural, studies show that people who engage in lifelong learning have significantly lower rates of dementia and cognitive impairment. Keeping the brain active strengthens neural connections, increases mental resilience, and slows down age-related decline. This is why many centenarians maintain hobbies, read books, learn new skills, or even take up new challenges, like playing an instrument or speaking a new language. Consider 85-year-old Dorothy, who spent most of her life working as a school teacher. After retiring, she found herself slipping into a routine that lacked mental stimulation, watching television, doing housework, and repeating the same daily habits. Over time, she started noticing small lapses in memory and difficulty concentrating. Concerned about cognitive decline, she decided to make a change. She joined a local book club, started doing crossword puzzles each morning, and even took an online history course. Within months, she felt more engaged, more alert, and more connected to the world around her. Keeping the brain active doesn't require anything extreme. Small, consistent efforts can make a huge difference. Many centenarians swear by simple daily habits like playing chess, learning new recipes, or even engaging in deep conversations with friends. The key is to challenge the brain regularly, giving it new information to process and analyze. Just as physical exercise keeps the body strong, mental exercise keeps the brain functioning at its best. Another powerful factor in maintaining cognitive health is avoiding mental stagnation. People who fall into rigid routines, stop learning new things, or avoid engaging in stimulating conversations often experience faster cognitive decline. On the other hand, those who seek out new experiences, whether it's traveling to a new place, trying a new hobby, or even having a debate on an interesting topic, keep their minds flexible and sharp. Social engagement also plays a role in brain health. Conversations require quick thinking, memory recall, and emotional awareness, all of which strengthen cognitive function. This is why centenarians who remain socially active often experience slower mental decline than those who withdraw from interactions. Whether it's discussing current events, telling stories from the past, or simply engaging in playful banter, socializing keeps the brain working in ways that protect it from aging. The takeaway here is simple. If you want to live a long and mentally vibrant life, never stop learning. Whether it's picking up a new hobby, reading about topics that interest you, or simply having more stimulating conversations, keeping your brain engaged is one of the best things you can do for your long-term health. The mind thrives on curiosity, and the more you feed it, the stronger it remains. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Number 5, having a strong sense of purpose and daily routine. One of the most consistent traits found among people who live past 100 isn't a perfect diet, strict exercise routine, or even access to top-tier healthcare. It's a strong sense of purpose. Centenarians across the world tend to wake up each day with a clear reason for living, whether it's caring for family, contributing to their community, or simply enjoying the small pleasures of life. This sense of purpose isn't just a nice idea. It has been scientifically linked to lower stress levels, better heart health, and even a longer lifespan. When people have a sense of purpose, their bodies respond differently to stress. They produce lower levels of cortisol, experience better sleep, and tend to have healthier habits overall. Studies have shown that individuals with a strong life purpose are significantly less likely to suffer from chronic diseases, depression, or cognitive decline. In contrast, those who lose their sense of purpose, often after retirement or major life changes, are at greater risk of health issues and even early mortality. Having something to look forward to each day is not just emotionally fulfilling, it's biologically protective. Take the case of 87-year-old Frank. After retiring from his career in carpentry, he found himself struggling with a loss of identity. Without work to keep him busy, he felt restless, uncertain, and even a little lost. But when his granddaughter asked him to teach her how to build simple wooden furniture, something changed. Frank started spending his mornings in his workshop, sharing his skills and passing on his knowledge. The shift was immediate. His energy returned, his mood improved, and even his doctor noticed positive changes in his overall health. It wasn't about staying busy, it was about having something meaningful to do. In the world's longest living cultures, this concept is often built into daily life. In Okinawa, Japan, it's known as ikigai, a deep sense of purpose that keeps people engaged well into old age. In Sardinia, Italy, many centenarians continue working in their gardens, taking care of animals, or helping younger generations in their families. The key isn't the specific task, it's the feeling that what they do still matters. This purpose-driven mindset keeps the brain active, reduces feelings of isolation, and promotes both physical and emotional well-being. Alongside purpose, another factor that plays a crucial role in longevity is having a daily routine. Many centenarians follow structured, consistent routines that bring a sense of stability to their lives. Whether it's waking up at the same time each day, engaging in light activity, or maintaining simple daily rituals, these habits help regulate the body's natural rhythms. Having a predictable routine can lower stress, improve sleep, and even enhance digestion, all of which contribute to a longer, healthier life. Another overlooked aspect of routine is the importance of movement throughout the day. While many people assume that longevity requires intense exercise, centenarians rarely go to gyms or push their bodies to exhaustion. Instead, they incorporate movement naturally, walking to visit friends, tending to gardens, or simply staying active through daily responsibilities. This approach keeps the body strong without the strain of high-impact workouts, proving that longevity isn't about how much you exercise, but how consistently you move. The bottom line is this: if you want to live a long, fulfilling life, find something that gives you purpose. Whether it's a hobby, a role in your family, or simply a reason to get up and start the day, That sense of meaning can add years to your life. Combine that with a steady, manageable routine, and you create a foundation for both physical and emotional well-being. Living to 100 isn't just about avoiding illness. It's about waking up each day with a reason to keep going. Final thoughts. As we wrap up this video, take a moment to reflect on these 5 powerful habits that can help you live a longer, healthier life. It's not about spending hours in the gym or following extreme diets. It's about making small, sustainable choices that add up over time. The world's longest living people don't just focus on physical health, they cultivate strong relationships, manage stress, keep their minds sharp, and wake up each day with a sense of purpose. What stood out to you the most? Which of these habits do you already practice? And which one do you think you could work on? The key to longevity isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. Simple changes, like staying connected with loved ones, eating mindfully, keeping your brain active, and maintaining a strong sense of purpose, can have a profound impact on both your lifespan and your quality of life. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Have you seen the signs in the elderly a year before they pass away? It's an unsettling thought, but the truth is that many elderly people display clear physical and behavioral changes up to a year before they pass. These signs are often subtle at first, easily dismissed as natural aging, but medical professionals have identified specific patterns that can indicate when the body is preparing for the end. In this video, we're revealing 7 key signs that often appear in elderly individuals in the year leading up to their passing. From unexpected shifts in weight to changes in behavior, these signals can offer valuable insight into what's happening beneath the surface. Understanding these signs can help families provide the right support and care in a loved one's final months, ensuring dignity and comfort in life's closing chapter. Stay tuned until the end, because recognizing these changes might not only prepare you emotionally, but also allow for interventions that could improve quality of life. Whether you are concerned for yourself or a loved one, this information is something everyone should be aware of. Now let's get started. Number 1, sudden unexplained weight loss. One of the earliest and most concerning signs doctors often observe in elderly individuals before they pass is sudden, unexplained weight loss. If an older person begins to shed pounds without changing their diet or lifestyle, it's usually a red flag. Weight loss on its own isn't always a bad thing, but when it happens rapidly and without an obvious cause, it often points to something serious happening inside the body. It could be a sign of an undiagnosed illness, such as cancer, advanced heart disease, or organ failure. Sometimes the body is simply struggling to absorb nutrients properly, leading to muscle wasting and weakness. For example, imagine an 82-year-old man like Richard, who was always a sturdy, strong figure in his family. Over the course of just a few months, he lost nearly 15 pounds without trying. At first, his family thought it was just normal aging, but soon they noticed he wasn't eating as much and his clothes seemed to hang off of him. When he finally saw a doctor, they discovered he had an underlying condition that was affecting his ability to maintain weight. By the time they caught it, his body had already weakened significantly. Doctors often say that weight loss in elderly individuals isn't just about the number on the scale. It's about what the loss represents. The body is an incredibly complex system, and when something is wrong, it starts using up its own reserves to survive. Losing fat and muscle at a rapid rate can mean the body is no longer able to properly process food, fight off illness, or maintain strength. This decline can make it harder to recover from even minor infections, leading to a downward spiral in overall health. Another key aspect is that weight loss often comes with a decrease in appetite. A person might start skipping meals, feeling full faster, or showing disinterest in food they once enjoyed. While this could be due to changing taste buds or medication side effects, it can also indicate a deeper issue. The body naturally slows down as it nears the end of life, and part of that process often includes a reduced need for food. However, if a loved one suddenly stops eating well and begins losing weight rapidly, it's important to take it seriously. Family members and caregivers should pay attention to subtle cues. If an elderly person starts needing to tighten their belt more frequently, if their jewelry becomes loose, or if they appear visibly thinner in their face and hands, it may be time to consult a doctor. Addressing weight loss early could lead to finding an underlying condition that might still be manageable. Even if nothing serious is found, simple interventions like adjusting diet, adding nutritional supplements, or managing medications can help slow the decline and improve their overall well-being. Losing weight may seem like a normal part of aging, but when it happens too quickly, it's often the body's way of signaling that something isn't right. If you or someone you know has been experiencing unexplained weight loss, don't dismiss it. Consider it a reason to take action and seek professional advice. Number 2, increased fatigue and weakness. One of the most common but overlooked signs that an elderly person may be approaching their final year of life is a persistent sense of fatigue and weakness. This isn't the normal kind of tiredness that comes from a long day or a poor night's sleep. It's a deep, unshakable exhaustion that lingers no matter how much rest they get. When someone who was once active and engaged suddenly finds themselves struggling to complete even the simplest daily tasks, it's often a sign that their body is slowing down in a more profound way. Fatigue in older adults can stem from a variety of causes, but in the context of nearing the end of life, it is often tied to declining organ function. The heart may not be pumping as efficiently, reducing oxygen and nutrient delivery to muscles and tissues. The kidneys or liver may not be filtering toxins as effectively, leading to a buildup of waste in the body that makes a person feel sluggish. Even the immune system can become overworked, constantly fighting off infections or inflammation, leaving little energy for anything else. Take the case of 78-year-old Margaret, who always loved tending to her garden. For years, she spent her mornings outside, pulling weeds and watering her flowers. But her daughter started noticing small changes. Margaret would tire after just a few minutes of activity, leaning on her shovel to catch her breath. Eventually, even walking up the steps to her front door became a challenge. At first, she brushed it off as just part of getting older, but the change happened too quickly to be normal. Doctors often look for patterns in energy levels. If someone who once enjoyed light activities like reading, chatting with friends, or cooking meals now prefers to spend most of their time resting, it's a signal that something deeper is going on. Chronic fatigue in the elderly isn't just about feeling sleepy. It's about losing the strength and motivation to move through daily life. Their body might be struggling to maintain basic functions, diverting all available energy toward essential systems while shutting down non-essential ones. Another crucial factor is how fatigue affects mood and mental clarity. People who experience prolonged weakness often become less engaged with their surroundings. They may start sleeping more during the day, speaking less, or losing interest in things they once enjoyed. This isn't just a mental shift, it's the body's way of conserving energy. Some elderly individuals may describe feeling heavy, or like they're moving through water, struggling to find the strength to do what once felt effortless. If you notice a loved one exhibiting these signs, it's important not to assume it's just part of aging. While some energy loss is natural, extreme fatigue, especially when paired with noticeable weakness, is often a major red flag. Seeking medical advice can help identify potential underlying issues, whether it's anemia, heart failure, or an imbalance in electrolytes. In some cases, adjusting medications, increasing hydration, or addressing nutritional deficiencies can improve energy levels and bring back some vitality. The key takeaway here is that when an elderly person suddenly seems far weaker than before, it's often a sign that their body is redirecting its resources for survival. Paying attention to this shift can provide valuable insight into their overall health and help families prepare for what may be coming. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 3, social withdrawal and personality changes. A surprising but significant sign that doctors have observed in elderly individuals nearing the end of life is a noticeable shift in personality or social engagement. This change can take many forms. Someone who was once outgoing may become more reserved. Conversations may feel shorter and less enthusiastic, and there may be a general disinterest in activities they once enjoyed. While many people associate social withdrawal with depression, in older adults, it can also be a subtle signal that the body is preparing for its final stage. One of the key reasons this happens is because the brain and body are deeply connected. As physical health declines, energy levels drop, and mental engagement often follows. The effort required to maintain conversations, go out with friends, or even respond to phone calls can start to feel overwhelming. This is especially true if they are experiencing chronic pain, fatigue, or a general sense of unwellness. It's not necessarily that they are feeling sad, it's that their body no longer has the resources to keep up with social interactions in the same way it once did. Consider an example. 80-year-old James was always the life of the party, known for cracking jokes at family gatherings and calling his old army buddies regularly. But over time, his family noticed that he stopped answering his phone as often. He began skipping events he once loved, and even when he did show up, he seemed distant and quiet. At first, they thought he was just tired, but as the months went by, he withdrew more and more. Eventually, they realized something deeper was happening. His health was declining, and his withdrawal was one of the first warning signs. Doctors emphasize that when someone starts pulling away from their usual social circles, it's important to consider the reason. Is it due to sadness, physical discomfort, memory struggles, or is it part of a larger pattern of decline? Some elderly individuals may stop participating in conversations because their cognitive abilities are slowing down, making it harder to keep up. Others might feel embarrassed by their physical limitations, preferring to avoid gatherings where they feel less capable than before. Another aspect to watch for is sudden personality changes. If someone becomes noticeably more irritable, anxious, or even confused, it may be linked to an underlying medical issue. Organ dysfunction, medication side effects, or even early stages of dementia can all contribute to mood changes. In some cases, shifts in personality can happen because the body is redirecting energy to essential functions, leaving less for emotional regulation. What's particularly heartbreaking is that these changes often go unnoticed or are misinterpreted as personal rejection. Loved ones may assume the elderly individual is simply losing interest in family or friends, when in reality, they may be struggling with a physical or cognitive decline that makes interaction more difficult. Understanding that this behavior is not intentional can help families respond with patience and support rather than frustration. While social withdrawal is common in older adults, a sudden or dramatic shift should never be ignored. Encouraging gentle engagement, such as short visits, listening to music together, or simply sitting in comfortable silence, can help maintain a connection without overwhelming them. And in cases where withdrawal is paired with other warning signs, seeking medical advice can help uncover whether an underlying condition is contributing to the change. Recognizing when someone is pulling away is about more than just social concerns. It can be an early indication that their body is going through significant changes. If a loved one has been showing signs of withdrawal, take it as an opportunity to offer support and ensure they receive the care they need. Number 4, recurring infections or slow healing. One of the most telling signs that an elderly person may be approaching their final stage of life is a noticeable decline in their immune system. When the body begins to weaken, it becomes less capable of fighting off infections and healing from even minor wounds. This is why doctors often see a pattern of recurring illnesses, frequent colds, urinary tract infections, pneumonia, or even skin infections that take much longer to recover from than they used to. In some cases, a small cut or bruise that once healed in days may linger for weeks, or an illness that was once manageable might turn into something far more serious. The immune system is like a protective shield, constantly working behind the scenes to fight off bacteria, viruses, and other harmful invaders. But as we age, this system naturally weakens. White blood cell production slows down, inflammatory responses become less effective, and the body's ability to generate new, healthy tissue declines. When this happens, infections that were once minor inconveniences can turn into chronic, life-threatening conditions. Take the case of 81-year-old Walter. He had always been relatively healthy, managing his daily routine without major issues. But over the span of a few months, his family noticed that he was catching colds more frequently, and each time, it seemed to take longer for him to recover. When he got a small cut on his hand while gardening, it remained red and inflamed for weeks. Eventually, a simple urinary tract infection led to a severe fever, requiring hospitalization. His body, once resilient, was no longer able to defend itself the way it once did. What's especially concerning about recurring infections in elderly individuals is that they can often be silent at first. Unlike younger adults, older people may not always show typical signs of infection like high fever or pain. Instead, their symptoms might be subtle, mild fatigue, confusion, or a general sense of feeling off. This makes it even more important to pay attention to changes in their health, no matter how small they seem. Another major factor is slow healing. When an elderly person gets a bruise, scratch, or minor wound, and it takes an unusually long time to heal, it's often a sign that circulation is compromised. Poor circulation means the body isn't delivering enough oxygen and nutrients to damaged tissue, making it harder to repair itself. This can be due to aging blood vessels, reduced heart function, or even conditions like diabetes that further slow the healing process. In some cases, infections don't just signal a weakened immune system, they can also be a sign that the body is struggling with an underlying issue. Chronic infections can indicate kidney problems, undiagnosed diabetes, or even the early stages of organ failure. When the body is nearing the end of life, it prioritizes its remaining energy toward essential functions, often at the expense of its ability to fight off illness. If you notice an elderly loved one experiencing frequent infections, lingering colds, or wounds that just won't heal, it's essential to take action. Seeking medical advice can help determine whether there are underlying conditions that need attention. In some cases, small adjustments, like improving hydration, adjusting diet, or modifying medications, can strengthen the immune response and improve overall well-being. But in other cases, recurring infections are a sign that the body is gradually shutting down, and knowing this can help families prepare and ensure their loved ones receive the care they need. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 5, difficulty swallowing or loss of appetite. Another deeply concerning sign that often appears in elderly individuals nearing the end of life is a noticeable difficulty swallowing or a sudden loss of appetite. While it may seem like just another part of aging, medical experts warn that this can signal something far more serious. When an older person begins eating less or struggling to swallow food and liquids, it often means their body is no longer processing nourishment the way it once did. This change can be gradual or sudden, but either way, it's a sign that should never be ignored. Swallowing is something most of us take for granted. It's a reflex that happens without much thought. But as the body ages, the muscles responsible for swallowing can weaken. In some cases, this is due to neurological conditions like Parkinson's or dementia, which disrupt the brain's ability to control these muscles. In other cases, difficulty swallowing, also known as dysphagia, can be linked to declining organ function. As the body begins shutting down, it naturally slows down non-essential processes, and digestion is often one of the first to be affected. Take the case of 83-year-old Helen. She had always enjoyed her morning coffee and toast, but one day her daughter noticed that she was taking much longer to finish her meal. Helen would chew for an unusually long time, sometimes coughing slightly before swallowing. Over time, she began eating less and less, leaving most of her food untouched. Eventually, even drinking water became a challenge. By the time she sought medical attention, her body had already entered a weakened state, making it difficult to recover. Loss of appetite is another major warning sign that doctors take seriously. While it's common for people to eat less as they age, a sudden or extreme drop in food intake is different. It's often a signal that the body no longer feels the need for as much energy because it is preparing to slow down. When this happens, elderly individuals may start skipping meals entirely, showing disinterest in foods they once loved, or claiming they just aren't hungry. One of the biggest risks of swallowing difficulties and appetite loss is malnutrition. When an elderly person isn't eating enough, their body loses muscle mass, their immune system weakens, and their overall strength declines. This can lead to a vicious cycle. Weakness makes eating even harder, and eating less leads to further weakness. Over time, even a minor illness or infection can become life-threatening, simply because the body lacks the resources to fight back. Families and caregivers often struggle with how to handle this situation. It's natural to want to encourage a loved one to eat more, but forcing food isn't always the right approach. Instead, it's important to focus on small, nutrient-dense meals that are easy to swallow. Soft foods, broths, and nutritional shakes can sometimes help, but if swallowing continues to be difficult, seeking medical advice is essential. In some cases, speech or swallowing therapy can improve function, while in others, doctors may recommend alternative feeding methods. Ultimately, when an elderly person begins to show a significant decline in appetite or has trouble swallowing, it's often one of the clearest signs that their body is going through a major transition. While it can be heartbreaking to witness, Understanding the reasons behind it can help families make informed decisions about care and comfort. If a loved one starts eating less or struggling with swallowing, take it as a sign to provide support. Ensure their comfort and seek medical guidance to understand what their body's telling them. Number 6, unsteady walking or frequent falls. A sudden change in mobility is one of the most overlooked but crucial warning signs that an elderly person may be in their final year of life. While it's normal for balance and strength to decline with age, a noticeable increase in falls, difficulty walking, or sudden instability often points to something far more serious. When an older adult begins struggling to move as they once did, it's a sign that their muscles, nerves, or circulation are no longer functioning at the same level. This decline isn't just about physical frailty, it's often a sign of deeper systemic changes happening inside the body. One of the primary reasons elderly individuals become more prone to falling is the gradual weakening of muscles and bones. As we age, the body naturally loses muscle mass, but when this process accelerates, it can lead to a condition known as sarcopenia. This makes everyday movements like standing up from a chair, walking down a hallway, or stepping onto a curb far more difficult than before. Even if someone was once active and independent, they may suddenly find themselves relying on walls, furniture, or the assistance of others just to move around. Take the case of 79-year-old Frank. He had always been steady on his feet, never thinking twice about walking around his house or running errands. But over a few months, he started stumbling more often. At first, it was just a couple of near misses, brushing it off as clumsiness. Then came the first real fall, nothing serious, just a bruise on his arm. But as time went on, the falls became more frequent, and his confidence in moving around started to fade. His family later learned that his circulation was deteriorating, and his nervous system wasn't reacting as quickly as it once had. Balance issues aren't always about muscle loss. Sometimes they stem from changes in the brain. Neurological conditions like Parkinson's disease, mini strokes, or even undiagnosed dementia can impair coordination and slow reaction times. The nervous system plays a crucial role in how we move, sending signals from the brain to the body to maintain balance. When those signals start misfiring or slowing down, falls become more likely. Another factor that contributes to mobility issues is poor circulation. The heart's ability to pump blood weakens with age, and when blood flow to the legs decreases, it can cause numbness, weakness, and dizziness. This is why some elderly individuals feel lightheaded when they stand up too quickly or struggle with their footing after sitting for long periods. In more advanced cases, the body prioritizes circulation to essential organs like the heart and brain, leaving the extremities, especially the legs, without the oxygen and nutrients they need to function properly. The danger of frequent falls extends far beyond the risk of injury. A single bad fall can lead to a broken hip, a severe head injury, or even hospitalization. Studies have shown that after a major fall, many elderly individuals experience a rapid decline in health, often due to complications like infections, reduced mobility, or the psychological fear of falling again. This fear alone can lead to less movement, which in turn accelerates physical decline. If you notice an elderly loved one becoming unsteady on their feet, don't ignore it. Encourage them to use supportive devices like a cane or walker, but more importantly, consult a doctor to see if there's an underlying medical issue at play. Sometimes simple solutions like adjusting medications, improving hydration, or engaging in physical therapy can restore some stability. But in other cases, frequent falls may be a warning sign that the body is gradually losing its ability to function as it once did. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 7, confusion, hallucinations, or cognitive decline. One of the most alarming yet frequently misunderstood signs that an elderly person may be in their final year of life is a sudden or gradual decline in cognitive function. This can manifest in many ways: forgetfulness, difficulty following conversations, sudden confusion about time or place, or even experiencing hallucinations. While many associate memory loss with normal aging, a noticeable shift in mental clarity, especially when it happens over a short period, can indicate something far more serious. The brain requires a constant supply of oxygen and nutrients to function properly, and as the body begins to weaken, the brain is often one of the first organs to show distress. In some cases, cognitive decline is caused by reduced circulation, meaning the brain isn't getting the oxygen it needs. In others, it may be due to an underlying medical condition, such as undiagnosed infections, medication side effects, or even early-stage organ failure. When the body starts prioritizing its remaining energy toward essential functions, cognitive processes such as memory, attention, and reasoning can start to deteriorate. Take the case of 85-year-old Dorothy. She had always been sharp-witted, remembering birthdays, telling old family stories, and keeping up with the news. But her son noticed that she started repeating herself more often. At first, it was small things, forgetting a conversation from earlier in the day or misplacing her keys. But over time, she began losing track of time, forgetting where she was going, and even waking up confused about whether it was morning or night. One evening, she told her family that she saw her late husband standing in the hallway. That's when they realized something was seriously wrong. Hallucinations in elderly individuals can be particularly distressing, both for them and for their loved ones. Seeing people who aren't there, hearing voices, or feeling sensations that have no physical cause can all be signs that the brain is struggling. While hallucinations are often associated with dementia or neurological conditions like Parkinson's disease, they can also occur when the body is in distress. Dehydration, infections, or even a lack of sleep can trigger these episodes, but when they become more frequent, they can indicate that the body is shutting down. Another common but subtle sign is something called terminal restlessness. This is when an elderly person becomes unusually agitated, anxious, or disoriented, often pacing, picking at their sheets, or seeming unable to settle down. This behavior is sometimes linked to discomfort, but it can also be a sign that the body is struggling to regulate itself in its final months. Doctors emphasize that while some cognitive changes are expected with age, sudden or extreme shifts should never be ignored. If an elderly loved one suddenly starts struggling to remember familiar faces, has difficulty speaking in full sentences, or seems lost in their own home, it's essential to seek medical advice. Sometimes these symptoms are reversible, caused by an infection, dehydration, or medication issues that can be addressed. But in other cases, they signal a deeper decline that families should prepare for. The most important thing to remember is that cognitive changes aren't just about memory loss. They're about how the body is functioning as a whole. If someone is experiencing confusion or hallucinations, it's not just a sign of aging, it's a signal that something significant is happening internally. Paying attention to these changes can help ensure that your loved one gets the care and comfort they need in their final months. Final thoughts. As we wrap up this video, take a moment to reflect on the 7 signs we've discussed. These changes aren't always easy to recognize, and even when they are, it can be difficult to accept what they might mean. But understanding them allows us to be better prepared, to offer the right kind of care, and to ensure that our loved ones are as comfortable as possible in their final months. What stood out to you the most? Have you noticed any of these signs in someone you know? Recognizing them doesn't mean giving up hope. It means knowing when to seek medical advice, when to adjust care, and when to focus on quality of life rather than just extending time. Every person's journey is unique, but the body has a way of signaling when it needs help. And paying attention to these signals is one of the most compassionate things we can do. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.